Hello, and welcome to my end of summer TBR, where I tell you about so many books that I definitely will not have time to finish before the end of summer, but I'm going to do my best to try. We have a couple different categories here, and I'm just going to kind of take you through my reasons for putting all these books on the TBR, why I'm interested in reading them, what goals they might be working towards. We're going to start with series. I have been working on reading down my series. I'm trying to eventually get the number to be under 5, but I also need to be starting some series because my friend Bailey runs a readathon a couple times a year called Squash That Series, and I love it. You've probably seen some vlogs on my channel of me playing the different rounds. Every round is a little bit different, and sometimes it's competitive, sometimes you're doing it solo, sometimes you're playing a game board, sometimes you're doing a scavenger hunt type thing. It's always different, and the main goal is just to be reading series. A version is going to happen in November. So if you're interested, go check out Bailey's channel at Is Bailey Reading. If you're interested, just follow her channel and she'll do an announcement when it's time. You're definitely not going to want to miss it. If you struggle with series, I promise you, Squash That Series will help. So I have 2 sequels that I want to read and then a few series I'm looking at starting. So let's talk about this series that I'm continuing first. I have actually 3 series. One book I don't have, but I plan to get it next time I go to the library. And that is Nona the Ninth. This is the 3rd book in the series that starts with Gideon the Ninth. The title of the series is evading me for some reason. But my sister recommended this book series to me. She and her wife were reading it and really loved it and said, you should read it. And so I've read the first 2, and I would like to get to the 3rd one all within this calendar year because it is quite a complex series, all about necromancy and space and some fantasy stuff. Very weird, very crazy world building, but it's a really good series, and I can't wait to read Nona. I think we're going to get some answers that I'm really excited about. So that's number 1 sequel that I want to read that will get me caught up on a series. I have another one that I promise you I'm going to get to this one. Okay? I promise you, because I have tried to read this for almost a year now. For sure in January, I was thinking of reading this. Go Tell the Bees I'm Gone by Diana Gabaldon. This is the 9th book in the Outlander series. I love this series so much. It's about a woman. She ends up going back in time, falling in love with a Scotsman, and their story goes on from there. I love this series so much. Diana Gabaldon is a really good writer. She just knows how to structure a story. The detail and the depth that she goes into for medical history, because our main character is a nurse and she's doing a lot of medical things when she goes back in time based on her future knowledge and trying to do what she can with the limited things available. And there's lots of history in these, and I just love them. I care a lot about the characters. I believe there's one more book in this series, and then the series will be done. So I'd like to read this. That way when the new book comes out, I can read it right away and kind of have read it with everyone else. So this will get done. It's so big, and I know that's why I haven't picked it up before. It's just so big. This one is 888 pages, and it's heavy, but once I get into it, I love it, and I read it quite quickly. So I'm eager to get to this. The next one, I'm a little less eager to get to, but it's I need to try the 2nd book to satisfy my curiosity if I want to continue on. This is Paladin's Strength by T. Kingfisher. I read Paladin's Grace a couple years ago and I enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 4 stars. And I immediately tried to pick up this book, and for some reason, I just bounced off of it so hard. So I wanted to give this another go and just see, like, was it my mindset or was I just like kind of done with this series? This is about paladins who are finding love. I don't remember exactly what characters we're following in here, but it's a different couple than the one in the first book, and I would like to do this. I've been in a bit of like a fantasy with like a romance plot lately, so I'm hoping that this will be a good time for it. It's relatively short. I like T. Kingfisher a lot. I haven't loved her stuff as much as I used to recently, but this is kind of like going back to something she wrote before, so I'm hoping I like it, and then there are 2 more books to read if I do. And then some new series I want to start. So I have one that I'm not sure of, and I'd like to start and kind of make a decision on whether or not I want to keep it. And then 2 that I think I'm really excited about. So the first one, I have read a chapter of Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, and the first chapter of this is stellar. This book is inspired by like pre-Columbian Americas. And there's a lot of talk about like gods like living within people or giving people powers or something like that. And the first chapter of this book was so gripping. I had a hard time not just like stopping everything and reading this. So I would like to get to it because I read that last October. I read the first chapter. So I would like to actually read what this is about. I think the thing that's stopping me is so many people really love this first book, and they hate the second book, and the third book is like okay. So I'm not sure how I feel about reading a book that I think I'll love to then probably be disappointed later, and I hope my experience is different knowing what to expect going into it. But I still think I'd like to read this and at least experience the greatness that is, I think, going to be this novel first. And it's such a beautiful cover. The next one I'm excited about, but I'm also a little nervous because I've heard it's confusing. And that is Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie. This is about a soldier who is on a remote icy planet. She used to be like an AI of a ship, but now she is like a single soldier. So she used to be like an AI that like connected a bunch of soldiers, and now like everyone else is gone and she is just like one soldier now, and it's just about some things that happens. It says an act of treachery has ripped it all away, so I don't know what that is. I've heard the writing style of this is confusing, so that's what makes me a little hesitant, but that sounds really interesting. I like stories that kind of play around with versions of AI. And this is obviously a Hugo and Nebula Award winner. It has very high praise. A lot of people in the Hugo and Nebula Award spaces really love Ann Leckie, so I'd like to give her work a try and see if I like it. And next is a duology. This is a 2-in-1 copy. It's called Spells of the Crossroads by Barbara Ashford. This is a woman who goes on like a getaway vacation to Vermont, and she steps into this like theater called Crossroads Theater. She accepts the job there, and there's somehow magic involved. I think this could be like a fun, cozy fantasy. I'm not positive. I read the first chapter of this before I bought it. Go me. And I enjoyed the writing okay, so I'm hoping that this will be an interesting read and maybe like a hidden gem I can suggest to people. Next, I have a couple like summery vibe reads that I would like to get to. The first one is another T. Kingfisher. This is Summer in Orcus. I think this is a middle grade book. It's about a girl named Summer, but it just has Summer in the title. And it looks like a cute, cozy summer read, so I would like to try to read this one. I don't really know what it's about, but I'm okay with that. I don't mind going in blind to T. Kingfisher books. This one, Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward. This one I'm really excited about. It sounds really good. It's a horror novel, and it's about a writer who is in a cottage on the Maine coast during summertime, and he's writing a novel about himself when he was younger, and there was like a serial killer in his town, I guess. And as he's writing it, he's starting to like second guess if his memory is exactly what happened. So it sounds really interesting. I really enjoyed The Last House on Needless Street. I thought it had a very interesting structure. I think there's something to be said for like the mental health representation in it, but as a story, it was very gripping, very engaging, and I think this will be that same kind of thing. And then another one that kind of has that serial killer slasher vibe is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. This is the book that I don't know a lot about. This is actually one of his worst received books. A lot of people did not like this. But something about the plot really intrigues me, and I just need to find out for myself if it's really as bad as everyone says it is. I have not had the best of luck with Riley Sager. I think 3 stars is probably the highest he's gotten. I haven't read that many of them, but this one is about a girl in the 90s who is doing like a ride share back home to Ohio. Charlie's roommate was actually just murdered by a serial killer that's on her college campus, and so she's kind of trying to run away. But as she's like riding in the passenger seat, she starts to think that the man who's giving her a ride thinks he might be the serial killer. I'm guessing he's not, because I don't know, unless it's just a true thriller and has no like mystery element to it. I'm assuming there's something more going on. Again, I've heard this is bad. A family that I know was getting rid of this, and I was like, I'm just gonna grab it and just try it, because I just need to like satiate my own curiosity around this one. Then we just have a handful of other books that I'm considering reading. We have Foundling Fathers by Meg Ellison. I actually got an e-arc of this a while back and never got to it, but now I saw this at my library and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably get the physical version because I tend to prefer those to ebooks, and read it and get a review out for it. This is about a group of billionaires who have cloned the founding fathers of the United States and are like raising them in secrecy. It's about like technology and patriotism, I think. I really like Meg Ellison's writing. I've read one short story of hers in a collection last year, and I loved it so much. So I'm hoping that her writing is as good in this as it was in that short story. So I'm very excited to try to get to this, and it's like less than 200 pages. Ray Naylor is quickly becoming one of my favorite science fiction authors. I don't know what this is about, and I don't care. I'm going to read it. I have read Tusks of Extinction and Where the Axe is Buried. They're both very weird, but I loved them both. I really like his writing. I like his ideas. I don't think they stick with me very long, but I have such a good time when I'm reading them. So I'm just going to jump into this one blind. And it's new, and so I snagged it, and I should hopefully get to it, and I can tell you if it's a good one. This book is one that I haven't seen at my library before, and I saw it today, so I grabbed it. This is another short one, only 220 pages. This is about the big like Cascadia earthquake that scientists have been looking at the West Coast and knows could potentially happen. They don't know when. Could be decades, it could be centuries. It could be 2 hours. It's just something that could happen, like a very big earthquake on the western coast of the United States. And this book is set in Portland, Oregon, which is near where I live. And it's about the aftermath of if that earthquake had happened, the aftermath of it. So a little bit of like a dystopian natural disaster kind of book. But reading a book that's like set in a city that you know is really fun. And so I'm hoping this is a good one. And then this one, I don't know a lot about other than it's short stories. One of my goals for my Impossible Reading Challenge is to read a lot of short stories, and I've heard very good reviews of this one. It is just under 200 pages, and there's quite a few stories in here. So I'm hoping they're not too short, because I often struggle with like super short stories, but I've heard very good things about this, so I'm very intrigued to get to it. We have another horror book because sometimes these like short nights make me want to read horror books a little bit more. And so I have The Green Mile by Stephen King. I don't know much about this other than it's about, I think, men who have been sentenced to death in prison and are like on death row. And I've heard very good things about this and the movie. I've never seen the movie. I would like to read the book first. Maybe I'll watch the movie, maybe I won't. I for sure would like to read the book. I've heard good things about this one. I think it would be a fun summer read. Another thriller. Can you guess? Like, I have so much fantasy on my shelves that when I go to the library, I'm like usually getting a lot of like other things other than fantasy. This is about a woman and her wife, and they are like house flippers. So they go in, renovate houses, and then sell them again. And they are working on a house, and then a man and his family comes up and says, oh my gosh, we used to live in this house. Can we come in and like take a look around? And so they are trying to be nice and let them come in, and then apparently weird things start happening. I've heard mixed reviews about this. People either love it or are very disappointed by it. So I don't really know what to expect, but I am eager to try Marcus Kluwer because he has like a new book called The Caretaker that, again, I've heard very mixed things about. So I'm like, if I love this book, maybe I'll have found an author that I will love, even if not everyone likes them. So I'm hopeful for that one. Next, we have 3 books that have been on my shelves for a while, and I think it's just time to give them a try. The first is The Interestings by Meg Wolitzer. I read The Wife by Meg Wolitzer a few years ago now, and I enjoyed it. I can't say I remember enough about it. She writes contemporary fiction mostly. This is about some teens that meet at a summer camp, and then it's about like decades later their relationships. Are they still like friends or not, and how have their lives gone? And so it's just like a book about women and friendship and life and aging, and I think it sounds interesting. I think there's some stuff about like art and success and who is successful and who's not. And I just think it's really interesting, like tracking friendships from like teenage to adulthood, because like not all friendships are meant to go from when you're children to when you're an adult, and people drift apart and change. And so I think this will be really fun to read. Next, we have another thriller. This is by Isabel Allende. This is called Ripper. This is about a young woman who is, her dad is the chief of police, and she's like obsessed with this mystery game called Ripper that you like play online, and she like plays with friends and her grandpa. And then a bunch of murders happen across San Francisco where she lives, and then her mom vanishes. And so then she's trying to figure out the mystery of what happened, and is it related to things that she has done or her father has done. And I just think like a mystery like this from Isabel Allende could be really interesting. And the last one I'm reading, I know nothing about. I have read the description for this many times, and it has survived many a culling of my shelves because every time I look up the description, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. I should read it. And I haven't yet. And this is one of the 30 oldest books on my Storygraph TBR that I have. And so here's another promise. I will be trying this book out, and hopefully it doesn't disappoint me because I've been hanging on to it for such a long time. The Children's Hospital by Chris Adrian. I would tell you what it was about, except I can't. It is about 600 pages of fairly small font, and hopefully it's worth me having held on to it for so long. Those are all the books that I am kind of considering for my summer TBR, end of summer TBR, because we're halfway through summer. Let me know if you've read any of these, if there are any that I should make sure I pop up to the top of the list. And let me know what kind of books you are looking forward to reading as we kind of wrap up summer and move into fall. Definitely, I think my theme is like those thriller horror books. I do love in like the summertime. I don't know, something about just reading like a really fast-paced novel definitely intrigues me during this time of year.